If you're watching this video, you recognize the importance of a strong income if you want to live a free and normal life in the US. I'm going to share with you a few job offers that I've personally received so far as an AA student, and the offers I'm about to present are for educational purposes. They've all been de-identified for privacy, and I'm not affiliated with any employers. So the views here are expressed are my own. I did this analysis to help navigate the job selection process for myself, but I also think it's something that can really benefit you if you're looking into this profession. And there have been a lot of changes in the job market recently. Anesthesia salaries have been on an upward trend for the last, years or months. Even here, when we look at the Quad A website, this is our national organization, they say many AA students receive multiple job offers before they even graduate. The starting salary for CAAs is about $150,000 annually, with generous sign-on bonuses, an average of 5 weeks vacation each year, pension and profit sharing, and other excellent benefits. And while the benefits are great, these figures and other figures you might be seeing online are probably a couple years old at this point, and I wanted to share with you some of the recent offers that I've gotten. So let's get right to it. So like I mentioned, it's pretty common here for students in their first and second years to be getting all these offers, because by the time you're a second year student, it's expected that you'll be signing a contract for maybe between 1 and 5 years for employment with either an anesthesia group or a hospital. And so these are some of the offers I've gotten so far. So here is, we'll call it Job A. The base pay, it's a W-2 position with a $200,000 base salary. And that's for a 36-hour work week as opposed to a 40-hour work week. So what that means is they start paying overtime based on hours over 36 hours as opposed to 40 hours, which is like massive in my opinion. You're starting with 6 weeks paid time off, 6 weeks of vacation, and $3,000 for continuing medical education. That's a common thing in the compensation here. You'll see it recur. That's sort of a stipend that you'll get for going to conferences or continuing medical education. But I'm pretty sure pretty much all the employers will just give it to you as a check, and you can spend it however you like. The retirement match is 10%. And overtime. Overtime is big because if you ever worked in the medical profession, you know that it's pretty ubiquitous to have overtime as sort of the standard. So it's important, and I know that I'm planning on working overtime, so I always factor that in. I don't expect to work less than 40 hours a week ever, other than my paid time off, of course. So overtime here is $150 to $160 an hour. That's for callback, overtime, working on your day off, or working during your PTO. And then $750 for taking call shifts, like in addition to your hourly rate, I believe. So they said that the average salary in the call pool was $258,000, and during your overtime hours, your 10% retirement match is increased all the way up to 15.7% percent for your retirement match, which I believe is the maximum that's possible. The sign-on bonus was not discussed, but there is an annual bonus that starts at $2,000 per year. And as you gain experience at the company, they increase it to $30,000 per year. And you also get extra PTO days as you spend more time at the company. Another perk that this place had is they had a 6-month contract, which was available for a flat $160 an hour. And I believe that was also billed as a W-2, so it included the benefits as well as that, I believe. Okay, Job B. So Job B, W-2, it's $195,000 base, 7 weeks of paid time off, and 2.5 for your CME money. Retirement match was 6%. Overtime, it wasn't stated, but I'll show you some general trends later on. So you can kind of speculate what that might be, but it's typically going to be maybe between $110 and $170 an hour. The sign-on bonus here was $20,000 for 16 months, which I think is a little bit low. But it also did come with a $19,000 annual bonus, so that kind of helps bump it up, and a $12,000 bonus for being on the cardiac team, as well as shift differentials for taking nights, and I believe weekends as well. Job C, for new grads, it's starting at 180 up to 190. Oh, actually, no. I spoke with a little bit more with more recruiters, and they're starting new grads actually now at 190. So starting at 190 for new grads. Coming with 6 weeks of vacation, 2,000 for CME, and overtime right now is $175 an hour, which I think is the best I've seen so far. They did come with the disclaimer that based on supply and demand, that could go down in the future, maybe down to 150. But if as of right now, it's 175. And this place, for senior students, they offered what's called Earn While You Learn. So what that means is that if I sign next year, committing to, I think, a 3-year contract, I'll earn my $75,000 sign-on bonus, and that can be paid on my first paycheck, but it can also be paid early. So if you sign early as a student, I think they'll pay you $2,500 per month for 12 months. I think that's like $30,000 within your last year being a student. So you can get that money earlier. You can put it onto an earlier tax year. So you can potentially save on some taxes, and also just save on interest by taking less loans, and just get some money early. No harm in that, other than signing a 3-year contract. But like I said, signing contracts for sign-on bonuses is pretty much the standard here. So you're going to find that anywhere you go. After the 4th year, so once your sign-on bonus period is over, they're going to start offering you a $15,000 to $20,000 bonus. I think it increases slightly as you go through your 4th, 5th, 6th year, and so on. And they offered shift differentials for nights, weekends, and for the cardiac team. So in addition to those jobs A, B, and C, there was also a couple new ones that I'd recently got, and I added to this graph here. So what this is, it's showing overtime. So like I mentioned, I know I'm going to work overtime, so I'm already factoring that in to looking at my total compensation and the value of each different job. So you can see right here that I have it from 40 to 60 hours a week. Based on my research, I think that's sort of like a typical window of hours people might work in the healthcare industry and in anesthesia. So you can see the base salaries are all here, starting maybe between, I think it's like 180 and 220. But coming up to 50 hours a week, and you're breaking 300 at the top end. And I wanted to note that this bottom line here, this is for the job A. That's the 6-month contract. So this is not an annual salary. This is the value of a 6-month contract. So if you're working even the 40 hours a week for that 6-month contract, it's close to $160,000, which is excellent if you ask me. And then this blue line here is the average hours, or is like the average of all these jobs. And as we'll discuss later, these jobs are maybe not representative of the entire nation. These are just some jobs that I have personally been exposed to or recruited by, or offers that I've been privately sent. So we'll look at that average. And here for 40 hours a week, average is $207,000. So that's accounting for base pay and the CME and any other annual bonuses that are like guaranteed. Coming up to 50 hours a week, $275,000. And then from there, it just goes up and up. Now, whether or not all these employers will allow you to work this many hours, it's going to vary place by place. Some places would, I'm sure, love to offer you as many hours as you can. Others, maybe they're a smaller hospital, they don't take call and they don't take weekends. It might be harder to get overtime. So that's another thing that I'm also looking for is what is the overtime rate, but also am I going to be able to work that overtime as much as I want? And am I going to be able to also opt out of it on the weeks that I don't want to work 50 hours a week? So that's definitely something to consider. And here's another offer that I was emailed. So it's pretty much in line with what we've seen. It shows a breakdown of what your base pay is, as well as pay you take working 10 hours of premium time, so overtime per month. 10 hours of overtime per month is like hardly anything. And so bringing you up to $220,000 a year, that's pretty good. All right. So those are some of the offers that I've personally seen so far. And some of them have been a little bit lower, some of them a bit higher. The main factor that's going to come into that is where the city that you want to work in is. Typically, the higher, more desirable cities pay less, and the places in more, suburban areas or away from the big city tend to pay more. That's just kind of how it is. And certain states will also pay more or less. So if you want to see more information that's, constantly up to date, there's two websites that you can look at here that I would recommend. The first is Bagmask. It's not my preferred website, but it does have a lot of offers. Some of these come without compensation details, but some of them do. So here's one. And you'll see that these also mostly align with the private offers I've received. So I believe that any information that you see on these websites, you can interpret it as it's not too good to be true. Typically, like, this is pretty transparent. That's another good one. 230 sign on, 110 an hour for regular, 165 overtime. $20,000 bonus. That might be, it doesn't say how long the contract is, but this one, where is this? Louisville. So that's in South Indiana. The other offers that I mentioned, some of them were in Florida, a couple of them were in the Midwest. And you'll also see other trends as you look at what states they're offered in. So this is my preferred website. It's called Gaswork. So in order to see the AA salaries, you'll go to gaswork.com, click on AA, show all jobs, and then you can filter by salary, you can filter by state. There's a lot of specifics here that can help you in the search engine. But if you just filter by the highest salary, that can show you a good idea of like what areas in the country might be paying well: Texas, Florida, Georgia, Indiana. And as you know, AAs can't work in all states. And then you can also, if you're ever wondering, you can look at CRNAs and see how they stack up. It's a popular question: how are CRNAs paid compared to AAs? And you can see, a lot of similar salaries for CRNAs. If you filter by like the highest salary, it's probably going to show you states where AAs aren't able to work and where CRNAs have their little monopoly. And the nice thing about going on these kinds of websites is they'll be refreshed continually. So if ever you're watching this video in the future, you can always look back on a website like this and see how the salaries have changed over time. And there's two articles I wanted to just look at to sort of close things out here. This one is from the Washington Post, and it describes salaries for physicians, and it also includes how many hours they worked here. So you can kind of get an idea of how the CAA profession will stack up in terms of lifestyle and compensation in regards to being a physician. So here we have anesthesiology physician, and I believe this is also published a few years ago, so this number could be very well higher now. But the one thing I like to look at here is the hours worked per week. And here we are at 53 hours a week. And if we go back here to our averagely hours worked, 53, that's almost 300,000 if you're working 53 hours a week as an AA. if you're in a place that, supports and encourages overtime, then that's a great salary, and it's going to put you towards the bottom of the list of, relative incomes. But if you just look outside of medicine, here's some census information for the United States, and you'll see that in terms of income, this is household income, but you're making this as one person, you're already at the top end of what's possible. And so you're really not going to be hurting for anything. And as well as I mentioned in my last video, all the benefits in regards to all the lifestyle benefits, and you can take the overtime if you want to, but it's also not necessary. You're not going to be like forced to take it depending on the deal you negotiate with your employer. So I think that's all I have for now. I'm going to be going to the Quad A conference, and I'm going to be doing some interviews there. One of the people I'm going to be interviewing is my classmate, Nate. He's a older, non-traditional student, and I think that his story would really be helpful for anyone who's sort of older and is trying to be like do a career change into anesthesia from another profession that's outside of medicine. So I think that would really be helpful for you guys. So if you're interested in that, subscribe and check back next week to see that interview posted. But until then, that's all I got for you. So thanks.